Level 1. $0. The LLC filing confirmation sits in your email inbox. You've read it 4 times. Nothing about your life looks different. You still go to your day job at 8, you still clock out at 5, but now there's a second thing living inside you. A business that doesn't exist yet except on a state registry and inside your own chest at 2 a.m. You open a business checking account. The banker, a woman named Priscilla, asks what industry you're in. You say the word out loud for the first time to a stranger, and it sounds smaller than it did in your head. She nods, types, doesn't ask a single follow-up question. To her, you're not a founder, you're a checkbox. Business type, sole proprietor. Projected deposits, unknown. She hands you a debit card in a paper sleeve and wishes you luck the way people wish luck on something they don't expect to work. You build the website yourself at night. You answer your own emails from a support inbox with your own name attached, pretending to be a team. You are the CEO, the customer service department, and the janitor, and nobody applauds any of it because nobody knows it's happening. Your first sale comes in at 11:40 p.m. on a Tuesday, $34. You stare at the notification the way you used to stare at a paycheck that barely covered rent. It isn't the money. It's the proof that a stranger, someone who has never met you, decided you were worth $34. You don't tell your coworkers. You don't tell most of your family. Announcing a business with $0 in real revenue feels like announcing a diet before you've lost the weight. The first rule: at $0, nobody is watching you build anything, which means every decision you make is entirely, terrifyingly your own. Level 2. $4,000 a month. The bank notices before anyone else does. An automated flag on your account triggers a phone call. Not a person asking if you're okay, a compliance department confirming the deposits aren't fraud. You explain yourself to a script. The script doesn't care about your business. It cares about the pattern. You still have the day job. You do the business between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 9 and midnight. Your friends ask how the side thing is going, with the specific tone people use for hobbies they don't expect to survive. You say it's going well. You don't say you cried in your car in a parking lot last Thursday because a customer left a 1-star review over something that wasn't your fault, and it felt like a referendum on your entire identity. You hire your first contractor, a freelancer on the platform who edits your product photos for $15 an hour. Paying another human being for your business, watching money leave your account into someone else's, changes something. You are no longer just spending. You are employing. Technically. Barely, but technically. You apply for a small business credit card. Denied. Insufficient credit history for the entity. The banker who denies you is polite. Polite in the specific way people are polite when the answer is no, and they know there's nothing you can say that changes it. You put the ad spend on your personal card instead. The second rule, at $4,000 a month, the business is real to you and to no one whose opinion moves anything. Level 3. $25,000 a month. You quit the day job on a Friday. You don't announce it as a leap of faith, you announce it as a resignation letter. 2 sentences, no drama, because a spreadsheet told you the math worked 3 months ago, and you'd just been too scared to act on it. The tone from vendors changes overnight. A supplier who used to take 4 days to respond now responds in an hour because your order size crossed a threshold that got you assigned an actual account rep instead of a shared inbox. You didn't do anything different. The volume did the introduction for you. You hire your first full-time employee, a woman named Renata who handles fulfillment. The first payroll run, watching $3,200 leave your account for someone else's mortgage, someone else's groceries, is a different kind of weight than any expense before it. You are no longer just responsible for yourself. You apply for a business line of credit, $15,000. Approved, but the rate is 19%, and the bank requires a personal guarantee, meaning if the business fails, you fail with it, personally, on paper, in ways that follow you. You sign it anyway, because $15,000 now is worth more than $15,000 later. The third rule, at $25,000 a month, the system starts extending you rope, but it's still your rope, tied around your own ankle. Level 4, $80,000 a month. Renata isn't alone anymore. You have 5 employees now, a small office you sublease, a Slack channel with more messages in it than you can read before lunch. You stop being the person who does the work. You become the person who decides who does the work, which is a harder job than anyone tells you it will be. An investor reaches out, unprompted, having found your company through a mutual connection. He doesn't want to fund you yet. He wants to get to know the founder. You have coffee. He asks questions that feel like a test disguised as curiosity. You answer honestly. He says he'll be in touch. He isn't, not for 8 months. And you learn that "in touch" is a phrase people use when they're keeping a door cracked without committing to walking through it. Your bank assigns you a business banker, unrequested, the same way it happens on the personal side once the numbers cross a line. His name is Franklin. He calls to check in, not to sell you anything, just to ask how things are going. The same institution that made you explain yourself to a compliance script at $4,000 is now calling you proactively. Nothing about you changed. The deposits did. You make your first real hiring mistake. Someone who looks perfect on paper and is quietly toxic in the room. It costs you 6 weeks and $9,000 in severance to undo. Nobody warns you that the hardest part of scale isn't revenue, it's people. The 4th rule, at $80,000 a month, you stop being an operator and start being an architect of other people's paychecks. And the weight of that never fully leaves. Level 5, $300,000 a month. You raise your first real round, $500,000 from a seed fund in exchange for 12% of a company you built alone in an apartment 3 years ago. The term sheet negotiation takes 6 weeks and involves a lawyer who charges more per hour than you used to make in a day. You sign it feeling relief and grief at the same time, because giving away a piece of the thing you built by hand is a specific kind of loss no spreadsheet prepares you for. The investor who ghosted you for 8 months at level 4 now calls you back within 2 hours of every email. Nothing about your product changed. Your growth chart did. You understand for the first time that capital doesn't chase good ideas. It chases proof, and proof is the only language the system speaks fluently. You have 14 employees now. You know most of their names, fewer of their stories. You used to hire based on gut feeling in a coffee shop. Now, HR handles the first 3 rounds of interviews before you ever see a candidate. The business has started running processes you didn't design by hand, and something in you mourns the version of the company that fit entirely inside your head. A bank offers you a $200,000 line of credit without a personal guarantee for the first time. The business itself is now considered credit-worthy, separate from you as a person. You read the term sheet twice to make sure you understood correctly. The 5th rule. At $300,000 a month, the institution stops betting on you and starts betting on the machine you built. Level 6. $1.2 million a month. You move into a real office, one with a lease that has your company's name on the door and a security deposit that used to be your entire annual salary at the day job you quit years ago. 41 employees, a director of operations who reports to you instead of every individual contributor reporting to you directly. You spend more hours in one-on-ones and board decks than you spend on the product you built the company around. And some nights you miss the version of the job where you could see everything you'd made in a single afternoon. A larger competitor reaches out about acquisition, not because they need your revenue, because they want your team and your customer base folded into theirs. The number they mention in the first call is higher than you expected and lower than you'd accept. And for 3 weeks, you can't sleep properly, running the math of a life where the business isn't yours anymore. Your accountant stops being a person who files your taxes once a year and becomes a person you talk to weekly, because tax structure at this level isn't a formality. It's a strategic decision that moves 6-figure amounts depending on how it's handled. You hire a fractional CFO. The vocabulary of your own company starts to include words you didn't know a year ago. Burn multiple, net revenue retention, runway. Investors from your seed round start introducing you to Series A funds unprompted, the way people vouch for someone they want associated with their own track record. The 6th rule. At $1.2 million a month, you stop building a business and start managing a small economy that other people's careers now quietly depend on. Level 7. $4 million a month. You raise a Series A, $12 million at a valuation that would have sounded like fiction to the version of you filing an LLC alone at a kitchen table. The round closes in 3 weeks instead of 6 months, because at this level, funds compete to get into your company instead of you convincing them to consider it. You stop reviewing every hire personally. You have department heads who hire their own teams, and you meet most new employees for the first time at an all-hands, not an interview. The company has a headcount now, instead of a headcount you memorized. 130 people wake up every day, and their income depends on decisions you make in rooms most of them will never enter. A bank that once denied your business credit application now competes for your company's entire banking relationship, sending a private banker to your office instead of asking you to visit a branch. The same institution, the exact same fee structure that used to feel punishing, now feels invisible because the volume has made the friction disappear. You get invited to speak on a panel about entrepreneurship. Someone in the audience asks what the secret was. You give an answer about persistence that feels true and also feels like it leaves out the years nobody was watching. The $34 sale at midnight, the denied credit card, the 8 months an investor didn't call back. The polished version of the story is the only version anyone has time to hear. The 7th rule. At $4 million a month, the world starts asking you for the lesson before you've fully processed what the lesson cost. Level 8. $10 million a year in revenue milestone crossed, on pace for far more. You sit in a boardroom with your name on the door plaque outside and 5 other names on the cap table, and the decisions that used to be entirely yours now require a majority vote. Freedom, it turns out, doesn't scale the way revenue does. The more the company is worth, the more people have a legitimate claim on what happens to it next. A competitor's acquisition offer arrives again. This time serious, this time with a number that would change your family's life for generations. Your board wants to discuss it formally. Some of them built their careers on exits like this one. You built your identity on the company itself, and those two things are no longer the same conversation, even though everyone in the room is technically negotiating the same number. You walk past the desk where you used to sit answering your own support tickets, now occupied by someone in the customer success department you've never personally spoken to. The company runs without you in the room for entire days now, sometimes entire weeks. That used to be the dream. Standing in the doorway of the office you built from a kitchen table, you understand for the first time that it's also, quietly, a kind of grief. Somewhere right now, someone is filing an LLC alone at a kitchen table at midnight, reading the confirmation email 4 times, telling no one, because the version of themselves who might fail with an audience feels unbearable. They don't know yet that the system won't notice them for years. They don't know the bank will deny them. The investors will ghost them. The first employee will feel like both a milestone and a mortgage. They don't know that none of it will feel like a rival. Not at $25,000 a month, not at $1.2 million, maybe not ever. The business doesn't change who you are. It just puts a number next to it and waits to see who shows up anyway.